The concept of servant leadership as a leadership theory was first espoused and articulated by former AT&T executive Robert Greenleaf in 1970. Many current experts, including leadership guru Simon Sinek, continue to emphasize the value and importance of servant leadership. Sinek is one of my favorite authors and speakers, and you really can't go wrong with any of his books or presentations if you are interested in learning more about servant leadership or leadership in general. During his 40-year career at AT&T, Greenleaf became disillusioned with the power-centric, authoritarian leadership style prevalent in U.S. industry at the time. He spent many years studying management development and education, and in 1964 retired from AT&T to form the Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership, formerly known as the Center for Applied Ethics. In his writings, Greenleaf claimed that his inspiration for servant leadership came from the fictional novel by Hermann Hesse, Journey to the East, which Greenleaf read in 1958. In this story, we read about a band of men on a mythical journey. The central figure of the story is Leo, who accompanies the party as the servant, doing all of the menial chores for the group. However, he also sustains the group with his cheerful spirit and his songs. He is a person of extraordinary presence, and he lifts and inspires his fellow travelers. All is well, until Leo disappears one day. The group then falls into disarray, and the journey is abandoned. The narrator, who is one of the travelers, wanders for many years, but eventually finds Leo and discovers that Leo is actually a great and noble leader in his own right, and the head of the order that had sponsored the original journey. Part of the test for the travelers was to see how they would persevere in their quest without Leo. Like transformational leaders, servant leaders place the good of their followers over their own self-interest and emphasize the greater good of the organization or society. Servant leadership is more akin to the behavioral approach than the trait approach, in my view, because it focuses on what leaders do. To be sure, some leaders may come to it more naturally than others, but with education and practice, each of us can become better at it. Researchers have identified 10 behaviors common to effective servant leaders. These include listening. Servant leaders tend to listen first, and they listen to understand, not just to respond. Empathy, which is all about standing in someone else's shoes and which is closely tied to emotional intelligence. Servant leaders demonstrate that they truly understand what their followers are feeling and thinking. Healing. Greenleaf notes that servant leaders care about the personal well-being of their followers and support them in overcoming personal problems. Awareness. For Greenleaf, awareness makes the leader keenly attuned to the physical, social, and political environments and is another dimension of emotional intelligence. This includes understanding one's self and the impact one has on others. Persuasion. Clear and consistent communication that convinces others to change. Conceptualization. The ability to develop a vision or clear set of goals and objectives. Foresight. An ability to see what is coming based on current circumstances and a clear understanding of the past. Stewardship. Taking responsibility for the role entrusted to leaders. Commitment to the growth of people. Greenleaf places a premium on treating followers as unique individuals with intrinsic value beyond what they bring to the company or organization. Building community. Greenleaf emphasized that a servant leader must be focused on the greater good and the impact of his or her actions on the organization and on society writ large. As you walk through the checklist of these behaviors, Lincoln emerges as an archetype of the servant leader. His empathy for others was noteworthy, as were his kindness and compassion. Schuler Colfax, the Speaker of the House at the time, once remarked, "No man clothed with such vast power ever wielded it more tenderly and forbearingly." That said, Lincoln remained steadfast and single-minded in pursuit of the greater good and his goal to preserve the Union. It is fairly easy for most of us to visualize such iconic leaders as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, or Nelson Mandela as servant leaders. Indeed, they personify the behaviors and impact Greenleaf envisioned in his conceptualization of servant leaders. However, there are many examples of more day-to-day servant leaders in a wide array of fields. In 2018, Marshall Swantis, founder and chief human officer of Leadership from the Core, shared his list of the top 10 CEOs that embodied servant leadership. His list included David Williams, a chairman and CEO of Fishbowl, a manufacturing and inventory management company. In his book, The 7 Non-Negotiables of Winning, Tying Soft Traits to Hard Results, Williams teaches the transformational principles his team implemented at Fishbowl: winning, respect, belief, trust, loyalty, commitment, courage, and gratitude. Every year, Fishbowl dedicates a day of service to their community for a major project to help groups like Native Americans, veterans, children, and single mothers. Although it costs the company nearly $200,000 a year, Williams notes that the bonds it instills in the company make it one of the best returns on investment decisions they could make. Bob Chapman, CEO of Barry-Wehmiller, has worked hard to transform Barry-Wehmiller's culture into one focused on bringing out the best in its people through communication, trust, celebration, respect, continuous improvement, and responsible freedom. During a period of tough financial times, Chapman instituted a program where everyone, including himself, took periods of leave without pay, thus ensuring the company's continued vitality. He said that it was better that everyone should suffer a little rather than a small group suffer a lot. His employees responded well, and the company was soon back on its feet. Cheryl Bachelder tops Swantis' list of servant leaders. Former CEO of Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen, Bachelder reinvented the company from the inside out by making a conscious decision to create a new workplace where people were treated with respect and dignity, yet were challenged to perform at the highest level. Under her leadership from 2007 to 2014, Popeyes saw sales increase by 25%, profits increased by 40%, and the stock price went from $13 to $40 a share. In 2015, she was awarded the Norman Award by the U.S. Restaurant Association, which recognizes an industry executive whose leadership has made a significant impact on members of the industry. Bachelder's story is captured in her book, Dare to Serve: How to Drive Superior Results by Serving Others. Notably, she says her favorite quote is, "I must know you to grow you." Some key leadership questions to consider when thinking about servant leadership include, does this leader put the good of the group above their own interests? Does this leader have high expectations for the performance of the followers and employees? Does this leader seek to improve the larger community and build for the greater good? Does this leader view employees or followers as tools or resources, or more as family members?